Welcome into another edition of the Grown Man's Podcast. I don't know which episode number this is because Haddy's not here to tell me.
33, y'all.
Is it 33?
Yeah, 33.
How do you know that?
Because I know that the one from last week was 31 and early this week was 32.
Oh.
I can count.
Are you sure?
Well, I am your older brother. I have that on you, I guess.
Okay. Well, Rick the mathematician says 33, so we'll go with it. I don't know if it's true or not.
Feel free to correct us if I'm wrong.
Yep. And Haddy will.
Yeah.
For sure. But Haddy is still out in sunny Las Vegas. Las Vegas is sunny.
Listen, I've been to Las Vegas twice in my life. Mm-hmm. It was way sunny both times.
Yeah.
So I think
too sunny or the right amount of sunny?
Well, too sunny.
Always sunny in Las Vegas?
Very.
That could be a spinoff of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That could.
And that'd be actually true.
Haddy could actually star in it because he's there.
Yeah, he could. And
I've been to Vegas a couple times, as I said. It is a really cool town.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you see all the stuff in Hollywood movies. And
yeah. Well, you mean Clippertown?
Clippertown.
Yes,
right.
as it
right.
is affectionately known.
And, well, not Vegas. Las Vegas. Las Vegas is going to be referred to as Raider Town.
Correct.
But L.A., Clippertown. Yes.
Or whatever other. I think that Las Vegas recently got some other sports teams.
Is that right?
I think so. I was too close to the mic a minute ago. I saw I was clipping, so I apologize if that sounded like crap.
In Clippertown?
Yep.
No, Las Vegas is cool. I highly recommend if no one's been there. And I don't gamble. I don't really drink a lot. I mean, we taste our whiskeys and stuff, but I don't drink like that. Mm-hmm. And yet Vegas was still an absolute blast both times I was there. Tons to do. It literally is a city that never sleeps. The place is just going all night long. Some of these casinos, you don't even know what time of day it is. Mm-hmm. We walked through them just to see them. And I mean, the people, they don't put clocks in these places. You have no idea what time of day it is. It could be the middle of the day, middle of the night. You have no idea. It is going 24/7.
That's weird.
It's cool, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would highly recommend. I mean, just go out and check it out. The thing that was the most stunning to me is when I woke up the first morning out there, I looked out my window and I saw the mountain in the distance. And it's not like hills we have here or mountains in New York
What's the name
State.
of the mountain?
Well, I didn't learn that.
Well, I'm sure that you know probably from being out.
Oh, it was Clipperton Mountain.
Okay, all right, yeah, Clipperton. Well, you could probably see Clippertown from Las Vegas, almost.
Just about.
You probably see the glittering lights of Clippertown.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. When we were out there one time, I hiked up through Red Rock Canyon, which was beautiful. So, I mean, there's lots to do out there other than gamble.
Yeah.
And
drugs.
And drugs. Yeah. Yeah, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, okay.
Okay.
But I recently watched a YouTube video about the underground mole people of Las Vegas.
What now?
Apparently there is legitimately a underground mole community. I mean, not moles like the animal, homeless people that live in the shadows of the sewer system.
Do you think Haddy has succumbed to them by now? I haven't heard from him all day.
That's true. I don't think Haddy would last very long down in the sewer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Haddy's the kind of guy that picks the onions out of his fried rice.
He's very classy.
Très classé, as I like to say. But I would be very, very surprised if Haddy lasted long if he had succumbed to the mole people.
That's a good point.
But I was watching this documentary, there's families down there and stuff.
Really?
In they don't come above ground at all.
That's really kind of sad.
It's incredibly sad. Most of them they're all addicted to addicted to drugs and stuff.
I'll tell you what drove them down there though. That sun. It is oppressive. It is so hot. One of the times I was out there, I played golf.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that was an absolute mistake.
Oh yeah.
They have golf courses there. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
If you're not playing at 3 a.m., it is unbearable. And I played because I didn't know this because I was a newbie. I thought, the rates are real cheap if you play at 1 in the afternoon.
Wow, that's perfect time of day. That's when I always play at home.
So I'm gonna go out at 1. Wrong. It was 100. It was 115 degrees. And you know what they say? They say it's a dry heat out there. Yeah. Everyone talks about how it's a dry heat. Well, let me tell you, I was soaked. It was not a dry heat.
Incredibly wet for old Ricky.
Rick was not dry.
No,
it was incredibly hot and wet, moist, if you will.
Yes. Yeah.
It was not good.
That word moist.
Not good. But it is a fun place to go.
Yeah.
I'm sure Haddy's having a blast if he's able to get away from work for a little while.
I don't think he is. I think it was a pretty tight work weekend for him, or work week for him.
Yeah, he gets to go on some fun trips for work. This is not one of them. This is one where he's working.
Very busy.
Very busy.
Yep. And I asked him what he did, and when he was out there, and he told me, and I don't know, sets stuff up and manages. I don't know.
It's as unknown to us is what you do is to me.
Yeah.
With your blue collar labor and
Right.
working in the mine shaft.
Well,
I don't understand it.
With the picking of fruits. And,
I don't understand
and
it.
working down the coal mine on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get any days off.
No.
Okay. All right, just checking.
And we're forced to live out in these old shacks.
Yeah.
That's where we're recording from currently.
From the shack. Where the grapes are grown.
Yes, and where there's very little salt in the cupboards.
If you listened to our episode earlier this week, you know what we're talking about.
Yes. And if not, then you are completely lost.
Yeah, but you should go listen to it then. Stop this, go listen to that, then come back.
And I don't know if I did this already, but I do want to thank our Patreon supporters.
No, that's a good point. You did not.
Darlene, Gus, and Barry, you guys are amazing, and we genuinely appreciate the contribution to the podcast. If you guys that are not named Gus, Barry, and Darlene would like to be given a shout out on every single episode, usually twice per episode.
You can be a friend of the podcast.
You can be a friend of the podcast. You can be a supporter of the podcast.
Yes.
You could be a sponsor of this podcast with your name emblazoned across the beginning and the end of every episode for a mere $1 or $2 a month. You know, one time I told Haddy, I was like, you know what we should do is like one of those SPCA commercials or like one of those like starving
Sarah McLachlan music playing,
or like the starving African children commercials for like the Patreon thing. Be like, for $1 or $2 a month for the cost of a cup of coffee, you could support these two podcasters. You know, some sad music playing in the background.
I think that would be inappropriate.
It'd be inappropriate, but it would also be kind of funny.
But it would line up with you. And Haddy,
it's definitely on brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I am a migrant. I am a blue collar worker.
Exactly.
Yep.
I love how you at this point you're just owning it and not looking to clarify that whatsoever. On a former episode when I was on as a guest host,
yes,
we talked about that at length.
I think I did clarify that on the last episode, that Rick at one point on the last episode he was on referred to me as blue collar, and so I'm just riffing off of that. But yes, we do want to thank our Patreon supporters, and if you guys do want to, go to patreon.com/backsplash.
Yep.
That's when you jump in the pool while you're typing it up.
That's right.
Do the backsplash and then type in / Grown Man's Podcast, and you can donate there. And like we said, we'll give you a shout out at the beginning of every episode, and also we'll send you some stickers, some Grown Man Podcast stickers.
Those are pretty nice.
Very
too.
cool. They are nice stickers. I was very impressed with the quality of them when I got them.
And if you're new to the podcast, welcome, first of all. And, you got 32 previous episodes.
No, we don't welcome new people. If you weren't here from the beginning, get out.
They can
turn
be
it
here
off
from the beginning, even now. They can just go back and listen to all 32 episodes prior to this one.
But we demand that you do that.
Yeah, that's necessary.
We're looking to bump up them numbers. So
come on now.
Come on now. Just be a friend of the podcast and download every episode.
I almost said y'all. I don't dare.
Drop a y'all bomb, Rick.
No, I can't do it.
No, come on.
Maybe later.
Listen to all the episodes, y'all. Anyway, so, and also do follow us on Twitter at Grown Man's Pod or on Instagram at Grown Man's Podcast. We appreciate hearing from you guys, getting your feedback, and just finding out what you guys think about the show, and if you guys have ideas and suggestions, we do listen to them. I check Twitter all day, every day. So, my blue-collar job allows me to, have access to my phone. Fortunately, the foreman on our fields.
I didn't know they had cell phones out here in the country.
Well, they don't, but down in the coal mines, we actually have good reception.
Gotcha.
Yes, do please follow us on Twitter. We appreciate that. So we got some interesting stuff on the show today. We're going to do some Grown Man's picks and some questions from our listeners, like always.
Yep.
So let's get into last week's Grown Man's picks. And it's real easy for us here. Now that we have only 4 games in the week, we don't have to choose which games we're going to cover.
Yep.
So we just have the games that we did last week. And so first game, you know what? I'm going to save the 2 AFC. I think the AFC games were better than the NFC games, personally.
Fair enough.
I think the weekend was amazing, though.
Incredible start to the playoffs.
Just
absolute awesome football for any football fan out there.
So I was very pleased with the games.
Our team didn't play. I watched the games and loved them all.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it was great.
All right, so let's get into our Viking Saints game from last week,
Wow.
What an upset.
Okay, so going into the playoffs, I personally felt like the Saints were a favorite in the NFC to go all the way. So I was especially stunned. I wasn't on the episode last week to make a grown man's pick, but I certainly would have picked the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was floored.
Yep. So Haddy and I both picked the Saints in this one, but the Vikings won 26-20 in overtime.
Yeah, that was an incredible game.
It was a very good game.
And obviously there's the controversy there at the very end of the game.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you, how many times... Is your phone broken?
No, it's good.
That's what it's supposed to look like?
Huh?
It looks like there's a big crack across it.
Oh, yeah. That's just a big crack across it. No,
Is
that's,
it?
no,
it's a bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble or
It looked like a giant crack.
No, it's good.
Okay. So, yes, the last play of the game, the touchdown pass to... not Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph? No. Kyle Rudolph. The tight end for the Vikings.
He pushed off.
Yeah, he totally did.
Well, and here's the thing. In live time, and even in the instant replay, in my opinion, it's a good no call. Everybody after the game threw a fit about how it should have been called. I don't think so. I think that they let him... I mean, there was pushing back and forth. Rudolph's just bigger. And I think that while you could have... here's the thing. It's a play that stands as called. If it had been called offensive pass interference, I would have said, yeah, that's fair. And if it wasn't, I say, you know what, that's fair too. Because it wasn't egregious. It wasn't a super big, obvious penalty like the last time the Saints got...
Here's my thing, and I actually
last year, I agree.
I meant to put this game a little bit further on so that we could kind of crescendo into it, but my forethought is lacking here.
That's okay.
With the more
that's a good way to start off.
The more old elk that I get into me here, which is the whiskey we had on last week's podcast that we're still drinking because Rick brought it back this podcast.
2 days later, brought it back.
Yes, she did. Yep. Anyway, so what I will say about it is this. The rule got put into place because the Saints got absolutely robbed in last year's playoffs, right?
Unquestionably by everyone that has ever watched
There
football.
is not a single soul alive that would not say
absolutely
that they were not robbed last year. And they were so robbed that they
changed the entire rule.
There was a complete rule change, and not just a small rule change, an entire new section of rule of challenging penalties.
An annoying one, in my opinion. That didn't really work.
Yes, annoying, but I will get into why it's annoying. An entire new rule was put into place for this specific season, for that specific reason. And then at the end of this game, against the Saints again, you might say it would stand as called, but what I will say to you is this. Was it offensive pass interference?
Yes.
Okay, then that is why that rule is in place. For the love of God, like... Al Riveron has done an atrocious job. And I have said so many times over the course of the year this year, Al Riveron needs to be fired.
Well, and here's the thing. They should have at least stopped the game.
Of course.
Done a review. Even if they called it as stands, they should have at least reviewed it.
For sure.
And then the fact that they didn't stop and at least use that opportunity that was created by the Saints game last year.
Could you think of a more important point to stop a game and say, we're going to officially look at this?
Now, if you are a Vikings fan, you're thrilled.
Yeah.
I mean, and good for you. I personally prefer the Saints out of the two teams. But I think that there's no question that it should have been reviewed. And
I think that calls like that should be reversed. I think that the rule was I was so excited when this rule became a rule because I was like, finally, the NFL is going to, because I've been saying this for years, that penalties need to be reviewable. And I was so excited when I found out that they're finally going to allow the opportunity for, a penalty to be reviewable, because maybe this is going to open the door to future penalties, like, roughing the passer, for instance,
or as one we'll get into one of these future games, personal foul for blindside block. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes, we will also talk about that. But I will say that this is why the rule was created. And the Saints got so boned last year that you would think that because they got so boned last year, just throw them a bone.
You think you'd go out of your way?
Seriously, you had the perfect opportunity.
It wasn't going to give the win to the Saints.
No.
If they called that offensive pass interference, it would have been, fourth down? They would have kicked the field goal.
Well, no, it would have been a replay on downs. It would have been third down with 10-yard penalty.
So they get another chance to score the touchdown and win, or kick the field goal and the Saints get an opportunity. And I will say, I know we're going to talk about this later in the episode with regard to potential rule changes this offseason. Here's the thing. That absolutely should have been called, especially because it's the Saints.
Especially. Now, you can't technically, by rule, take into account that it's the Saints.
Well, tell that to the officiators in New England.
Everybody knows that the rule's there because they got boned.
Now,
it's not such a stretch that they couldn't have done it and had it be legitimate.
Did you see the video of the referees leaving that field?
No.
Let me tell you, New Orleans fans were not kind to the referees.
I would be livid. I couldn't imagine.
I saw the video. I mean, they were literally like covering and ducking, and they were getting, I mean, the amount of stuff being thrown at these referees. I mean, first of all, that's not a class act,
No.
and fans shouldn't behave that way because the referees are doing the best they can.
But how many times do the Saints need to get completely boned?
But that wasn't. I wouldn't even say that's a problem with the referees on that field. That wasn't. It was referees in New York,
because it has to go to the referees in New York,
and that was
the ones who don't have to deal with the fans afterwards getting stuff thrown at them.
So
it drives me crazy because it was such a great opportunity for the NFL to take a step back and say, you know what, we have this rule that's in place. We have the ability to correct wrongs. Yeah. And in the entire season, they have failed so miserably at looking at offensive and defensive pass interference.
That's true, but to be fair, they stayed with the pattern they set throughout the season.
Not really, because the beginning of the season, they didn't overturn anything. And towards the end of the regular season, they started overturning things that people wouldn't have even tried to challenge, and then now this. The
refs didn't know what to do with it.
You know what? Then you call, the rules in place so that you can correct wrongs.
It's the first time it's the first season with it, though. I mean,
humans are imperfect. These referees are imperfect. They don't see everything. That's why they have the ability to replay it and say, if you were a referee and you saw it like this, would you throw the flag or not?
Right.
Because that's the discretion. To say, we're just going to stick with the call on the field no matter what, essentially.
Well,
that's wrong. That's wrong. And that's why El Riveron needs to be fired. They need to get a head of officiating in there that is going to actually stick to what the rule says. And what the rule says is, if it's a penalty, you call it. Even if they missed it.
Yeah, that's fair. But officially now, the Saints have ended their season, and the Vikings are moving on, and they're going to what? Green Bay?
Yes,
Green Bay.
Yep. No.
Where are the Vikings going? They going to the Niners?
Vikings are going to Niners.
You sure about that?
Vikings, Niners, yes.
Yeah, okay. I got that wrong.
So next game up here, we have the Seahawks and the Eagles, which got to be the worst of the four, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
it was the ugliest, the sloppiest.
The Eagles being the home field team here, going in, there was a lot of.
They weren't the better of the teams.
They weren't the better of the teams. They got the home field advantage in that slugfest with the Cowboys throughout the second half of the season, where we thought maybe a 7-9 team wins the division. I mean, they ended up 9-7, which was a good ending to their season. They played, I think, a respectable game. But the Seahawks, I mean, they got Russell Wilson, MVP candidate. I mean, he balled out all year long. He came into Philadelphia. He continued it. I mean, Lynch was back and playing beast mode. No, come on. He was retired 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. But so Seahawks won this one. It was a 17-9 victory for the Seahawks.
But it was close right to the end.
It was. All of the games this weekend were one-score games, which is, I think, a great thing.
Really close.
But I picked Seahawks. Haddy picked Eagles. Russell Wilson's... It can't be overstated how much of a difference maker he is on the football field. The man just makes football magic happen. He has the ability to just take a situation and make something out of it when there's nothing there, whether it's with his feet or throwing on the run and getting great tight window throws. He's just, it's a true sight to behold. I think that Russell Wilson is, I mean, I'm not going out on a limb here to say that I think he's an amazing player, but I think that he has impressed me with the games that I've seen from him this year.
Well,
I don't watch all of them.
And you know what a big difference maker is? DK Metcalf.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, we knew coming in the season he was going to be a difference maker. The fact that he fell back in the draft as far as he did was surprising.
Yep.
I kind of hoped the Jets were going to pick him up in the draft. I mean, I know we had to go elsewhere, but I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, the Jets had too high of a pick this year to pick DK Metcalf, and then we didn't have a second-round pick, which is where he went. He went in the second round.
He's an absolute beast.
To everybody's credit, he did have a lot of question marks as far as his route running skills. and his versatility as a wide receiver. Obviously, he's big and athletic, but
He's got that Megatron kind of feel about him.
He does. But
I'm impressed by him.
But you had to develop him a little bit. It was not a clear cut, lock that he was going to be great. They had to put some time into him.
Haddy picked the Eagles. And here's the thing: the Seahawks.
He's got no respect for the Eagles or for the Seahawks. Haddy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Seahawks is who I would have picked if I had been on last week's episode, and it's because the Seahawks are again. They were probably, though they were definitely right up there with the Saints as far as the best team playing in this round of the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
agreed. All right. So that's, why I got this. And I mean, when Wentz went down with his head injury.
Yeah. I mean,
I was taking notes for all 4 games when that happened. I said, Wentz head injury, this game has to be over at this point. It was already heavily slanted to the Hawks. I mean,
there's no coming back from that.
No.
I mean, McCown, as we mentioned earlier this week, played his heart out.
Yep.
I mean, he really did. He played an awesome game, but
everything you would want from a backup quarterback that has not gotten any
not
practice
enough.
reps. But yeah, I mean, the game was already very much in hand for the Seahawks. I felt like at that point it should have been called a penalty, a head-to-head hit. That's referees in this game, or both those games, weren't doing a great job. I think they were both kind of cobbled together crews. So, we got that. So let's see here. Next game up was the first game from Saturday, Bills at Texans, and me and Haddy both picked the Texans in that one. Texans ended up winning 22-19. It was a close one, man. Another overtime game.
What a game.
A great game. I mean, I was so excited. I was annoying the crap out of Rachel. I was in the bedroom watching it. I was pacing the room. I'll tell you, me and you were both Jets fans. I think me and you were both pulling heavy for the Bills.
We were because we live in New York. We live closer
Upstate,
to Buffalo than we do downstate, and all of our friends are Bills fans, pretty much. And they've had such a long stretch of terrible play. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I like rooting for underdogs most of the time when I get an opportunity to. I don't know if that's why I'm a Mets and a Jets fan, but that's probably why. But I mean, we're rooting for the Bills, and okay, here's the thing. The Bills absolutely had the opportunity to win the game, 4th and 27. It's a 59-yard field goal attempt at the end of the game. You try to kick that field goal for the win.
I couldn't believe it.
You do not go for on 4th and 27. There's no reason to.
Nope.
I was dumbfounded that they didn't try the kick.
I know.
And you're in a dome. Mm-hmm. There's no wind to contend with. You got Hauschka. Try the 59-yard kick.
Yep.
And so the fact that they didn't, I said, that's terrible coaching. It didn't come back. It didn't end up meaning they didn't have another opportunity because they ended up getting the ball back again and going down. And then the referees threw the flag on a personal foul.
Yeah. So that's got it. The blindside block's got to go.
Oh my! And it wasn't blindside. He hit him head on.
I know he hit him head on, but
and they weren't even really running.
I don't know who this rule is protecting. The rule is that you cannot be blocking back towards your own end zone or towards the sideline, and you cannot lead with your head, your shoulder, or your forearm. What do you lead? What are you going to lead with your butt? I don't understand how you would block somebody without using your head, shoulder, or forearms.
It was a god awful call. I was dumb, and that put him out of field goal range, and it cost him the game.
Yeah,
and I mean it's
a bad. That rule's got to be revised.
It certainly should be reviewable.
Yeah.
I mean, in these,
a lot of penalties need to be reviewable.
It was such a terrible call that cost the Bills that game.
Yep.
I mean, the coaching on that prior field goal attempt probably also cost them the game, but that was terrible. It was hard to watch for knowing my friends. Our stepfather, that they ended up having to watch their team lose in the playoffs again. They haven't won since 1995 in a playoff game. They deserved a win. Yeah. It's been 25 years.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you, there was a lot of back and forth and emotional moments during this game. What do you think about the kickoff touchdown, in the second half where they ruled it a touchdown initially, but then came back and said, well, the guy was giving himself up. What do you think about that?
I think that he 100% gave himself up. The thought that the ref, and watching in the replay back, the fact that the ref looked over at him and dodged the ball to let it be live. I'm like, what are you doing? I think absolutely it was a touchback.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't know that you're supposed to kneel.
You didn't? Every single time that a receiver...
I know, but if they just kind of wave it off and just take it and then throw the ball back to
every
the ref.
time. They always do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we know that
and
now.
I will say, I thought it should have been a touchdown.
Well, I mean...
the rules are the rules. I mean, you got
to
kneel.
if that's the rule, it feels weird to break the rule just because that's not what he meant.
Right. I know. It's like when a quarterback gets an intentional grounding penalty because his hand was hit during the throw and there was no wide receivers in the area of where the ball ended up.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, that's not what he intended to have happen. That's just what happened. Like, how are you going to throw the flag there and then not other times? I will say the referee was looking at him, waiting for him to kneel. And then when he was looking like he was about to throw it, the ref was like waving him off, like, don't throw it at me, and then the guy threw it and he moved out of the way of it, and it's up to the referee's discretion. I do think that he was giving himself up. I do think that
obviously he didn't drop the ball.
Right. But I also think that rules are rules. You have to kneel the ball.
That's a tough one to learn. It's tough to learn that way if that's the case.
When you're in victory formation and obviously you intend to,
kneel the ball.
If you just take it and just, toss it to the ref, is that okay? No, you got to kneel the ball. Or put your knee down.
Hey, if that's the rule, that's the rule. But in my opinion, he was definitely giving himself up.
But do you think a quarterback has to kneel on a victory formation?
Of course.
Why?
Because it's the rule.
Because it's the rule.
Yeah.
And that should have been a touchdown. That's my opinion. I think that
and you know what? If it had been that momentum, they would have never came back from that.
I agree. But the biggest point in the entire game was, and I wrote this down when it happened, was I wrote huge sack / grounding play that put the Bills out of field goal reach on the 4th and 27 by JJ Watt.
Which, they could have still kicked the kick.
Yep.
A 59-yard kick, but they didn't.
Yep. So that's when the whole momentum of the game changed. That's when they started to come back. Let's see. I think we need to discuss also Josh Allen's huge crumbling.
What in the world? Okay, so I'm watching this game.
So which one do you want to talk about? The
pitch.
The pitch. Okay, let's take that second. Okay. Let's talk about him being in field goal range and getting 2 sacks for another 60 yards tacked on. What in the heck? I was watching it with my daughter Serenity, and I was explaining to her kind of as they were going. I was like, all right, they're in position right now. They can kick a field goal from here. The only thing they need to have happen here is no penalties, no sacks, because they can kick a field goal from here. They just got to.
You would think Josh Allen would know that.
You'd think, and in the first play. After I told her that, big sack. I was like, oh my God. This can't be happening.
But grounding's going to end up with the same thing.
Yes, that's true. But you just need to be aware of the situation and not allow yourself, if there's nothing there, throw it away.
I get it. I agree.
And then the very next play does
sack.
it again, for a 20-yard loss. What are you doing?
It was an awful, awful decision. But you know what? That's his inexperience in the playoffs coming through. That was his first playoff game.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had playoff jitters. Yep. It's understandable. What's less acceptable to me...
So at that point, it looks like the game's probably over because the Texans have enough time to drive down and run the clock out. They punt the ball after the crazy sacks and stuff. Texans start to drive, but the Bills defense stops them and kicks it back to them again.
And they get the ball
and they're given this miracle opportunity again to drive down with enough time to win the game.
And... then
Josh Allen takes off on a big run.
Huge run. He's running down the field.
You're like, oh man, this is amazing.
He's in field goal range. This is amazing.
Yep.
And they go to tackle him, and right as he's going down, he just throws the ball back.
What are you doing? This is not the last play of the game. Why are you lateraling the ball backwards? I couldn't believe it.
No one.
He throws the ball up in the air, and it's clearly not something that was planned or anything.
He's just winging
because the player that was there was so shocked by it that he was completely caught off guard. What are you doing in that situation? You have the opportunity to and you already got this huge gain. Why are you doing that?
I don't know.
I have no clue.
Kevin, we're watching our stepfather. We're watching the game, and he throws it, and he goes, "No, what are you doing?" And you gotta understand, our stepfather,
he's so
Kevin,
monotone.
he is the quietest man you've ever met. And he doesn't get worked about anything.
Yep.
And we're watching the game, he goes, "No, why would you do that?" It's the first time I've ever seen him get riled up about football ever. Because it was a chance to win a game for the first time in 25 years.
Yep.
And Josh Allen's like, I'll just throw the ball.
Yep. Why not?
Why not?
Why would I not throw the ball backwards to a player that's not looking at it?
It didn't get...
Fortunately.
It didn't get turned over, so that's good. But
oh, man.
It was questionable for sure the way he played. But yeah, I think it was just his inexperience shining through. And I think that will be overcome in years to come. I think Josh Allen is the answer in Buffalo. I think he's going to be good for years to come.
Yep. And then the final real play of the game, important play of the game. Huge third and 18. they gave up a big sack, or they could have had a big sack on Deshaun Watson.
No.
Gave it up.
Listen, there is no excuse for I mean, he got hit hard from both sides.
Two people.
At the same time and came out of it somehow.
If either one of them was a half second further away from him, I think he would have gone down. It's like they both hit him at the same time and just like equally bounced off, and Deshaun Watson was like, "That's weird. I'll run. I'll make a play out of this."
Missing him on that play is inexcusable.
It was so hard to watch because you knew how important that was.
Now, I was rooting for the Bills because my friends are Bills fans. I got over about 5 minutes after the game because I don't really like the Bills,
right?
But yeah, I know how that feels.
But my heart goes out to them.
I've been in those shoes before.
Yep.
So.
All right.
So now.
That's it. And so for the final game, I don't know why we would have saved this one for last.
I've been waiting all week to talk about this game, T-Mone.
I'll talk about it to anybody that'll listen, quite honestly. Final game of the week was Titans at Patriots.
Do you mean the final game of the Dynasty?
Quite possibly, yes.
Yes.
And man, what a game! Another very close one. The Titans ended up winning this one 2013, and I picked the Titans. Haddy picked the Patriots. So I went 3-1 last week. Haddy went 1-3.
That's impressive.
So yes, very impressive. So Patriots notoriously great at home, but they lost last week to the Dolphins, and then lost this week to the Titans.
What in the world?
Could you imagine the fans that are there? Like, could you imagine being like, all right, easy game against the Dolphins to seal our first round bye and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and then they lose at home to the Dolphins, and they're like, holy crap, now we got to play but at least we're playing the Titans
at home.
And then to lose to them at home.
And here's the thing, those fans went into that game knowing that it was potentially Brady's last game ever in Foxborough. And so they're going to support him no matter what because of all the years, but to have to watch it go the way it did, I mean, what a finish. 14-13 at half, right?
Yep.
Stayed 14-13 right down to the very end of the game. Yep. I couldn't believe it.
What happened at the end of the game?
What happened at the end of the game was the most glorious thing I've ever seen in football. I don't know about that. But
it was better than when the Jets beat the Patriots.
No, it wasn't that good.
No, it wasn't that
but good. It was amazing to watch Tom Brady throw a pick six, potentially as his last pass ever.
Yep.
Potentially as his last pass as a Patriot.
Yep.
That went back for the touchdown. Just the defeat.
Yep.
Just seeing it happen before our eyes. The moment we've waited for so long, as not only just NFL fans, but New York NFL fans.
Yep.
I mean,
it's been a real rough stretch for us. So if you're a Patriots fan and you're like, what are these jerk off, podcasters hating so much? It's like, listen, literally my entire life of watching football, which I love football. If you listen to the last episode, you'll know I only like football. I don't like basketball or hockey or baseball. I hang my hat entirely on the sport of football, and I'm a Jets fan. It's like, could you think of a more tortured situation for a man to be in than that he only likes football and his team of choice is the Jets?
That's tough sledding.
That's real tough sledding, man. And so, yes, I am happy that the Patriots lost at home in the wild card round. I am happy that it appears as though Tom Brady is done for his career, at least in any kind of meaningful way. It does make me happy because my whole life...
And that's fair.
How old was I when Tom Brady took over? I was, 14?
Not even. 13?
13?
Yeah, 13, 14, somewhere around there.
And I might have watched football games before then, but I wasn't like a diehard football fan. You kind of take over in your teens. So essentially the whole time I've been watching football.
You know what the sickening part is? When Tom Brady and the Patriots back in 2001, was it 2001? 2002?
2001.
Somewhere around there where they went to their first Super Bowl and won it. I remember thinking, hey, that's a team from our division. And I rooted for him. I was like, this is cool. Somebody from our division could win the Super Bowl.
No.
And rooted for him. Because that's what I used to do. I used to root for teams in our division when we didn't go. Because that was decent. And then this all happened.
Yeah, so...
but it's all over, man. Can you hear it? Can you hear the chants? It's all over. I can just imagine it. Throughout the entire nation. Everybody standing up and just cheering for the Titans.
So... I will say, my favorite part of the game, I think, was when Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Titans, used Bill Belichick's trick of wasting clock time that he used against the Jets against him.
Unquestionably, the best part.
And there was like a big whole news story about Bill Belichick on the sideline during the Jets game doing that to us.
Yep.
You know, taking penalties intentionally just to waste the clock with a smirk on his face. He found it funny. But I'll tell you this. Bill Belichick did not find it funny when Mike Vrabel used that same exact loophole against him. In fact, he looked downright perturbed.
I'd say that's fair. And I think getting a little taste of his own medicine is just what he needed.
Yeah.
So here's the question. And we're going to get into some questions here shortly, but Patriots, it seems like the dynasty's over. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady probably done, at least in a meaningful way, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Does that mean Belichick is? Where does Belichick stand at this point?
I know that we will... this is going to be a topic that we are going to cover in the podcast over the offseason because it's one of the biggest questions that the NFL has had in a very long time.
Where do you go from here?
It'll be very, very, very interesting to see what the New England Patriots coaching and player staff looks like, or roster looks like, come next year. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have a good read on it. I don't know if Tom Brady's going to try and come back. I don't know if they want him back. I don't know if Belichick is going to stick around or if he's going to retire. I genuinely, I don't know. My gut tells me that both of them will be back next year. That's what my gut tells me.
Well, guess what?
I think it'll be a mistake, but that's what my gut tells me.
I feel very confident that both of them will be back next year.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of them has enough humility to just walk away from this.
Well, they're so competitive that they think that
they can't walk away with it ending this way.
I can't imagine either. And
I don't think it's going to end better next year if they both come back.
No, I think it'll be worse.
It'll be worse, but I think they can't help themselves.
That's true.
They should have both gone out last year.
That's 100% it. Go out as Super Bowl champions, as the best in the world, and have that be your walking off into the sunset moment. Because it was perfect.
It was perfect.
Because you were tempting fate as is by being a 42-year-old quarterback, sticking around another year, but you figured out a way, even though Brady was not the reason they won the Super Bowl last year. Again, it was the defense and the coaching. How many touchdowns did he
go
score?
Out on top?
Yeah, of course.
Go out on top.
It was the ugliest Super Bowl I've ever seen. It was so boring because he couldn't do anything on offense.
But you know what?
He came back.
He didn't, and it's the greatest thing ever.
I know.
Because now he's never going to go out on top.
And he's not going to allow his last pass to be a pick six losing in the playoffs at home.
That's for sure.
So he's going to come back, whether it's with the Patriots or with another team. Now, I know you don't think that he is going to come back on another team, right?
No, absolutely not. I think it's either retire, which seems unlikely, or come back as a Patriots. His best bet is to come back as a Patriots quarterback. I mean, there's not a better situation for him. So I think that's where we're going to see him.
Yeah, I think that is his best bet. I don't necessarily think it's what's going to happen, but it'll be very, very interesting. It's going to be some really juicy drama for the offseason here, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. So we got to move along here to our Grown Man's Picks for this week.
Beautiful.
And so first game up on the docket is Vikings at 49ers. What do you got?
I mean, it's the Niners for sure. The Vikings really had no business beating the Saints, as we mentioned. So I am 100% on for the 49ers. At this point, Haddy will hate that I say this, but 49ers are going to be the team for the NFC if I'm picking at this point.
Okay. Let's see here.
What do you think?
I'll tell you. There's something to be said about a team that gets hot at the right time.
Yeah. Kirk
Cousins was not... He was dropping dimes.
He played a great game.
He was, some beautiful, beautiful touch passes deep downfield. And Dalvin Cook, he's a force, man.
Sure.
He sure is. And Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs was not happy that he was not included in the game plan really on this last week. He was over on the sideline pouting. But how do you cover both Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs?
I think you should pick the Vikings.
I'm considering it.
No way.
I am considering the Vikings.
I mean, like I said earlier, I thought the Saints were the team to beat in the NFC, and they're gone. So maybe this year...
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with the Vikings.
This is a wacky year of football.
It is. I'm going with the Vikings. You and Haddy are, and also I texted Haddy. I got his picks for everything. He is also going with the 49ers.
Yeah, well,
that's the book on it.
Yeah.
But all right. So next game up here is Titans at Ravens. Who do you got?
I mean, I am absolutely picking the Ravens. I mean, again, Patriots had no business losing to the Titans. Mm-hmm. I think Titans, Derrick Henry was impossible to stop, but not as impossible to stop as that Ravens offense. So
Lamar Jackson's
I
insane.
mean, for me, there's no question the Ravens are going to win that game.
Yeah.
No question.
Now, here's what I will say as a possible, possibility for the Titans to come in and shock the world is if you're the Ravens and you have your first round bye, right? What are you doing during that first round bye?
Yeah, you're getting stale.
Well, you're getting stale, but what are you actually doing?
I mean,
preparing.
Yeah.
Who do you think they were preparing for?
Yeah, the Patriots.
Right. So they spent the last week almost assuredly preparing for the Patriots, right? So now, do they have a first round bye? No, they have players that have not been playing, and being in game.
Well, I think they might have been preparing for the Bills, honestly, because the Bills would have gone there if they had won. Here's the thing. I think that
either way, they weren't prepping for the Titans.
No.
And the Titans are an offense that is nothing to be, I mean, they are one of, if not the top offense in the league down the home stretch.
I think the Ravens win the game by a fair margin, but I also think that that if you had to play them, I'd rather play them this week than next week, because this week they're coming off of the bye. That they've lost a little of their momentum, maybe because of that. Once they get a playoff win and go into the championship game, it's gonna be harder to beat them then.
Yeah.
So if I had to play them in the playoffs, I'd rather play them first versus second. Lamar Jackson's first playoff game. Mm-hmm. They sometimes for that round bye, mm-hmm. that kind of screws you over a little bit sometimes. So, I get. I see you marked down Haddy for the Titans.
Yeah, that's what his pick was.
I mean, I understand the Titans. His wife's a Titans fan, so that may be part of the reasoning there.
No, because he's picked against the Titans for the entirety of the time that we've been picking.
So he's a believer now.
Well, I guess so. Maybe she finally got to him. But
what about you, Tom?
I am going to go with the Ravens on this one. I think that like I already stated, I think that the Titans have the ability to come in there and make some noise. But Lamar Jackson, man, he is a phenom, you know, and it's at Baltimore, and that can be a real tough place to play
for sure.
And I just don't see them overtaking that offense. It's going to be a who can score more points kind of game, in my opinion. And I think that the Titans are not going to be able to keep up with the Ravens.
No way.
No. So let's move it along here then to the Texans at the Chiefs, and let's see here. Haddy, I'll just start with Haddy here. Haddy's taking the Chiefs. That's a safe bet.
It's not only a safe bet, it's the bet, because the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
You think so, huh?
At this point, if I had to pick, it'd be Niners and Chiefs. And I think that the Patrick Mahomes is not his first playoff game now. He's lost in the playoffs. He knows how that feels. I think he's got the rest. I think they are polished at this point compared to where they were a year ago. I think they got the taste of that still in their mouth a little bit about losing. And bottom line is, the Texans are not that good, if you want my opinion. I mean, they beat the Bills, but they shouldn't have.
It was just barely.
Just barely,
right.
As we talked about. And the Chiefs are just way better.
Yeah. The Texans and the Bills are about the same quality of team, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Chiefs, they're another level.
They're just a different level, and I agree. So all three of us are picking the Chiefs on that one.
All right.
Not much of a discussion there. So this one, Seahawks at Packers. I'll get this one out of the way because it's a clear and obvious one. Hattie's picking the Packers.
What?
Packers at home. But I'll dive into this one. All right. I think it would be crazy to discount the skill that the Seahawks have. The Seahawks could have been, division winner and looking at a first round bye, I believe, if they had won. Not 100% sure on that, but the Seahawks are a great team.
Yeah, they just missed it.
Yeah.
The
49ers Seahawks game.
Yep.
But I will say the Seahawks are a great team.
They are a great team.
They are led by a quarterback who has the ability to be a difference maker, like we already talked about in the last game. And I'm going with the Seahawks on this one. It's a grown man's pick of mine. That and the Vikings are my grown man's picks this week. And I think that they're going to go in there. I think that I think the Packers' offense has been
Stagnant.
very stagnant. It's not been that impressive to me.
And not... So I got the 50-50 choice here because you guys have each picked a different team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I looked at these 4 games, and I thought, is it possible that any of these home teams lose their game?
Mm-hmm.
Because they are excellent teams. And for me, this is the only game that's possible. And not only do I think it's possible, I think it is probable. And so I, too, am picking the Seahawks.
Look at that. Rick being a grown man.
That is my grown man pick of the week. I mean, the Packers are good.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and they're playing in Lambeau. All good. But there's something magic about Pete Carroll in the playoffs with Russell Wilson, Mr. MVP. I mean, I just like it. I'm going Seahawks.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, the Seahawks are a more fun team, in my opinion, and it's not even close.
All right, so it's a bit of a homer pick for me because in the NFC, I mean, I'm a Jets fan, obviously, but in the NFC, for me, it's Seahawks and Eagles that are probably the 2 teams I like the most. Packers probably would be my 3rd pick. But Seahawks are just fun to watch. They just have so much energy, and they play with so much passion.
Yep.
And that defense is going to stifle that Packers offense. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a 20-point game-ish on each side of the ball and close, but I think the Seahawks are going to come out on top.
Yeah, I agree. The Packers offense, you have obviously Aaron Rodgers is great. You got Aaron Jones, the running back, who's obviously very talented, but I just don't, they're not blow me away. I think that the Packers have underplayed what their record said they were. Yeah. They were not, the first round bye type of team, in my opinion. They just don't have that feel to me. Now, I'm not a Packers fan, and so maybe the Packers fans feel that way, but I know I've talked to Haddy about this, and he tended to agree with me that the Packers were playing below what their record said they were. And I think that the Seahawks are right about at, or maybe even playing a little bit above what their record.
5, and I think they're better.
Yep. So I definitely think it's going to be a good game, a dogfight, but I think the Seahawks are going to come out and upset the Packers on this one.
Agreed.
All right, so let's move it along to our questions from our listeners. What do you say, Ricky?
Let's do it.
All right, Ricky. So let's move it along here. We got questions from our listeners.
Beautiful.
And so we'll start out with one that you have over there from an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
From your work, and me and you used to work together for over 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's been over 5 years since then.
That's true.
But old Welchie, yeah, she was a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
I always loved Nicole. She was good people.
I still get to work with her all the time.
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of fun conversations. But this week, and she's a Giants fan.
Yep.
And she wanted us to discuss Mr. Eli Manning. What is his future? Looking ahead for him, what does the future hold for Eli Manning?
That's
what
interesting.
Do you think?
I think he just retires personally. I think that he's such a low key guy. I can't imagine him wanting to go to a whole new town and a whole new fan base and have to try to earn a starting job. I don't even know if I'd say earn, because if somebody brings him in, he's going to be the presumed starter.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to want to have to deal with, in New York, the fan base loves Eli because he gave him 2 Super Bowl titles, right? But even in New York, they were so sick of him, that they were like talking crap about him.
That's New York, man.
That is New York. But, another fan base isn't going to have that kind of loyalty to him.
That's a good point, but there's a lot of fan bases out there that could use a marquee player to not only maybe help you get some wins, but to also sell some tickets.
Yeah.
Like Eli Manning is a good quarterback still. He's not a great quarterback still, but he's still good, and he's certainly better than a lot of the quarterbacks in the league. So I could see him maybe trying to revamp things for a few more years in maybe like Miami. It's easier on the body playing down in Miami than it is playing in New York. Or, I know Collinsworth said Tom Brady might be a good fit for the Chargers, but I could see Eli Manning playing for the Chargers or even going out the West Coast. So I think there's possibility for him to continue.
There's no chance he goes to the Chargers.
You don't think so?
Well, he was drafted by the Chargers.
Yeah.
And he said, I will not play for you under any circumstances. That's why I ended up in New York.
I know, but wouldn't that be a nice bookend to everything?
It would be an interesting bookend, but there's no way that that's going to happen. It's too
controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The There's too much bad blood there.
For me, though, I could see him fitting in Miami. I think that could be interesting.
I think that Miami already has 2 quarterbacks that they consider to be bridge guys for whoever they draft this year.
Yeah, that's true.
I would see possibly like a Bengals situation. I think they're moving on from Andy Dalton, and I could see them, they're going to draft a new guy, but I could see them wanting a bridge guy in there.
Now, does Eli Manning, does he want to go and be a bridge guy?
No. And that's why I'm saying, I think the most likely situation here is that Eli Manning retires.
I think that's the most dignified thing for him. I think he deserves it. I think he's an excellent quarterback, had a great career. I think he's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But I think maybe not first ballot, but I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. And
he probably will. I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean, he's had 2 Super Bowl wins, and that's about,
yeah.
I don't feel good about calling him a for sure Hall of Famer.
I think
he probably will.
I think so.
He probably will, but I just don't.
I'm just saying he deserves a graceful end.
Yeah, I think he's a great guy.
And boy, it hasn't been a great end to his career.
Nope.
But that happens in the NFL. Sometimes you fade out. Not everybody gets to just go out on top at the top. Not everyone gets to go out and just pull this incredible finish.
That's why I think he will just retire.
He's been in his brother's shadow forever, and he's not going to have the finish that Peyton Manning had.
No, but if he doesn't retire, he's not going to stay in New York. I think that's pretty clear that Daniel Jones is their guy, and he has made it clear that he does not want to be a backup quarterback. He's I don't enjoy that. It's not fun. I don't want to do it. So he's not going to be in New York next year. If he is in the league, I could see maybe Jacksonville, but they're already paying.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nick Foles, I could see them being a good fit there and a kind of a mentor to Minshew. I could see him being a fit possibly with the Bengals.
Now, what happens if the Cowboys don't make a deal with Dak and Dak goes elsewhere?
That's not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen, but if it does, that could be an interesting fit.
Where's Dak going to go?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to happen. They're going to pay him. They're going to figure it out. And I don't necessarily agree with the decision to pay him a lot of money, but, whatever. It is what it is.
McCarthy can work with him.
I guess. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see whether or not McCarthy, because Dak Prescott is not Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see what kind of, what kind of talent McCarthy actually has as far as being a coach, because he has a lot more supporting pieces there with McCarthy, or with the Cowboys, but the quarterback is not, and that's the most important position. So we'll see what happens there, but
we'll see.
So that's what I think. I think he will retire, but if not, I could see him maybe going to the Bengals or.
All right.
Yeah.
What other questions do we have this week,
all right.
T-Bone?
So next one up here comes from our buddy Gus, the international ambassador of the podcast.
Really? Our friend Gus.
Yep. Gustav, as I like to call him. So that question is, do you think that the Jets should, or do you think that Gase should hire an offensive coordinator?
First of all, thanks for the Jets questions on Twitter this week, Gus.
I found out that you were going to be on. So.
I appreciate the old Rick shout out. Do I think he should? I don't think he should have to, because that's supposed to be what he is hired for, right? He's supposed to come on and be that guy for the Jets. So, no, I think that he might have to if we're going to make any kind of headway, but no. I'm going to say no. I think that Gase is a good enough play caller, and I think that it's worth seeing where this year goes. We finished 6-2 in the second half of the season. Mm-hmm. We had all the trouble with Darnold, Mosley at the beginning of the year. I think that kind of set us off on a bad place. It took a while to come back from. And I don't think we were as bad as the record indicates. I think we're a better team than that this year. Looking ahead to next year, the schedule is a little tougher next year than it was this year. We were 7-9 this year. I think it would be a successful season with next year's schedule if we made 9-7. Which would be, I think, competitive for a wild card, maybe, probably not division, although that division's going to be wide open next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough division next year.
But no, I think Adam Gase calls the plays next year. I think that's what he's good at, and I think he will continue to do.
That's what he's supposed to be good at, as we said. He's supposed to be good at that. It's not what he's good at, because he has, this year, the 31st or 32nd offense in the league.
Is that all?
That's all. What's that, out of 100? No, that's out of 32.
All right.
Adam Gase is supposed to be a good play caller. He's supposed to be a quarterback guru. He's supposed to be the answer to all of our woes. He is none of those things. And I definitely think that he needs to have You know what? Here's the thing. Maybe he doesn't need to have an offensive coordinator, but he needs to not have head coach responsibilities. You know, he may be fine as an offensive coordinator, but that's not his job title.
That's actually more accurate, probably.
Yes.
He is a good offensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach.
Yes. And I will say this, and this I can back up with stats, and that is that when Adam Gase is given time to call plays, he can do a great job because over the stretch run over the last 8 weeks of the season, I think that, 7 of those games he had an opening drive touchdown with Sam Darnold. He's able to figure out what good plays are when he's able to script them ahead of time and figure it out. But after the play calling gets going, no, he does not have a good track record because after those initial touchdown drives to open the games, he absolutely falls off.
Well, and here's the thing. The more experience Sam Darnold has, the better he's going to make Gase look as a play caller. Darnold's going to be able to...
That's a two-way street. The better the play caller is, the better it's going to make Gase look, To
make Darnold look, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So, good question, Gus.
We do need a new offensive coordinator because Darryl Loggins is an absolute moron who just does nothing essentially.
No,
we need a good offensive coordinator. I'd love a Todd Monken.
Now, is Gus a Jets fan? Do we know if he is?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just unsure.
Gus is one of the biggest Jets fans I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey.
Gus lives in England, but came over to the U.S. for 2 straight weeks to watch 2 different Jets games.
Nice.
You know what they were? No, not nice. It was the Dolphins game and the Jaguars game, both in Florida, and we lost both of them in an embarrassing manner.
Oh, boy.
So I felt awful.
Sorry about that, Gus.
Yep.
It's not always like that.
But yes, he's a huge Jets fan.
Perfect.
So he also asked, do you think that Gase is going to last the entire 2020 season?
Yes. And here's why. Because I think the Jets are going to have a winning record in 2020.
Okay.
Like I said, I think 9-7 is where they're going to end up looking ahead of the schedule. I think we are going to improve. I think that we got the 11th pick in the draft, and with it, I think we're going to get some offensive line help that we desperately need. I think through the free agency, hopefully we improve at cornerback and at wide receiver. And I think we improve in 2020 on where we're at. I think we had a lot of good momentum going into the offseason, and I think that we just build on that going forward.
Okay.
So I don't think they're going to cut him if we're performing.
I do think that we are going to fire Adam Gase during the season because I think that despite the fact that they're going to fix problems on the team as far as roster holes, I think that Adam Gase's play calling is bad. I think he's a bad head coach, and I think that he will get fired during the season because I do not think he's capable of being a good head coach in the NFL. So I do foresee it happening.
But if they're winning,
I don't think they're going to be winning. That's the point.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to have everything they need to win, and they're not going to be winning.
Well, coming in this season, you were very hopeful that they were going to do awesome, and I was doubtful, and I ended up being right, and you ended up being wrong.
Well,
so next year we're going to have a winning record because I'm the one calling that one.
We'll see.
I'm the older brother.
Right.
I'm the older brother. I win.
Hopefully you're right. All right, next question up here comes from @great_goalie on Twitter, and he asks, "Is McCarthy a good hire in Dallas?" We kind of already covered that.
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, I like I said, mentioned earlier.
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a little bit better than Jason Garrett. I don't think Jason Garrett was an awful coach. I mean,
don't either. He'll have a coaching
Jason
job
Garrett
sorted.
took him to the playoffs several times, and I don't know as if he ever had a losing record with him.
McCarthy's better.
Yeah, McCarthy's better, but I don't know how much better. Neither of them are inspiring.
I think it's a solid hire.
I think it's a fine hire.
Yeah.
It doesn't blow me away. It doesn't make me concerned for Dallas. It is what it is. It's a little bit of an improvement.
Yep.
So we already covered where we think Brady will be playing in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, well, we talked about that later.
Yep.
I got one that came up at work this week, and there's a drink that is popular with some of the people I work with called Tahitian Tree. Have you ever heard of it?
Never in a million years.
Okay, so I guess it's most like fruit punch, like Hawaiian, like high C or whatever. It's a Hawaiian punch, whatever it is.
Hawaiian punch.
Yeah, so it's
high C is a different type of punch.
Okay, so it's like that, but it's more bubbly, and it's like if you mixed Hawaiian punch with cream soda because it's got like a vanilla flavor with the fruit punch. It's real good. Anyways, it's like impossible to buy around here.
They don't buy it like
they don't have it here.
pre-made.
I mean, it's like a soda. I mean, they make it.
Oh, so it's not alcoholic.
No.
Oh.
No, it's like a soda. You can buy in a 12-pack of soda or pop, if you will, for some of you who...
Please don't.
We say soda here. Thank you.
Yeah, because it is soda.
Anyways, if you
let us know on Twitter whether or not you guys call it pop or soda or Coke. Because
Yeah.
down south, they call every kind of soda Coke.
That's true. I'll have a Sprite. I'll have a Coke. What kind? Sprite.
Yeah. Weirdos.
But Tahitian Treat is a delicious. I tried it. It is really good.
Huh.
And I'm just curious if our listeners have Tahitian Treat where they live.
Is that the name brand?
Yeah, Tahitian Treat. And do you have it where you live? If so, can we buy it and have you ship it to us? Because on Amazon it's like $18. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was like $18 to get a 12-pack.
Yeah.
On Amazon, but I mean it's like $4 if you can buy it local. So if you have it nearby, go try it. Tahitian Treat. It's nicely, and they're not.
Does it come in a can or a bottle or?
Yeah, I can. And they're not a sponsor, but they could be.
Of course, they could be. Anybody could be.
Reach out to us, Tahitian Treat.
You listeners could be a sponsor of the podcast.
I had never had it before.
No, I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's good though.
I'll see if I can find some. We'll try it on the podcast at some point. And our last question comes from at Baby Morgul or Morgal. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. But this is actually a Patriots fan that I got into an argument with after the Patriots lost.
That sounds about right.
But you know what? Had a nice conversation. It ended amicably.
And they have a question?
And I subscribed, or I followed her, and she followed back, and she interacted. She asked a question on the podcast for this week, and I appreciate that because here's the thing: you can have differences. I think this is a good message to the whole world. You can have differences about something, even stuff you feel very strongly about, and still end the conversation on a nice note while showing respect.
You mean you can disagree with somebody and still like them and get along with them, even though you disagree?
From what I hear,
the world would beg to differ, but okay.
That's true. All right, but we do appreciate you stepping up and asking a question here, Baby Morgal.
Nice to meet you, Morgal.
Morgal. She asked. She's
not gonna like this episode with all the Brady hate.
But
maybe she's over Brady too. Maybe she's ready for a new change.
Well, she said that her and her family have been season ticket holders for decades.
Wow, she's a big time fan.
Yeah, so
we've offended her greatly through this entire season.
No, because I pretty much all said all that when I was fighting with her, or not fighting, but having a discussion on Twitter.
I know how you are.
You grew up with me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can be tough nut to crack.
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah. That's kind
What's
of
her question though?
She said, "Are you foreseeing any NFL rule changes over the offseason?"
Of course.
Oh man, I could go on and on about rules I'd love to see changed.
What
rules do you think will be?
I think we have to nail down this overtime issue. Here's my opinion. Overtime is better than it was, not having it be sudden death from the get-go with a field goal, but you can return the kick and it's over. So for me, I think each team has to at least have one set of downs, have one possession. They can't just score a touchdown and win the game, in my opinion. I think it defeats the whole purpose of having the rule change that they put in place. Mm-hmm. I think the fairest way would be to just play an additional quarter.
Yeah,
I think that is the fairest way to have that go. But at the very least, the NFL needs to give each team a possession, bare minimum, no matter what. Right. If they score a touchdown, then the other team scores a touchdown, and then it goes to sudden death.
I would say, with the exception of a safety. I think if a team gets a safety, that's it. Because
their possession's over anyway.
Because their possession's over, and the opposing team scored on their possession.
I could get on board with that.
Yeah.
But I think that rule needs to change. And as you heard earlier in this podcast, I think we need to make some more penalties reviewable, and we have to actually make adjustments when we review them.
Yes. Yes, we need to fire Al Riveron. That's the biggest change we need to make because he has done an atrocious job of implementing rules. It's like, here's the thing. He's not supposed to be the person who interprets the rules. The rules are clear. He's supposed to implement the rules as they are written. He has done a bad job of that, which means he deserves to be fired. We need to fire Al Riveron and get somebody in there that's going to actually follow out the rules as they were written. And yes, we need to incorporate a couple other things as to, reviewable penalties, such as roughing the passer, helmet to helmet, defensive holding maybe.
We have the technology to look at these things. Let's use it.
Like the reason that it used to be you went with the referees on the field was because that was the only option.
It was the best option.
But
as a human eye,
right?
Now we have better options,
right? Why would we not improve the ability to get the calls right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get one on offense where it wasn't the penalty and you get the call, but you're never going to get the bad
holding.
One
I will say offensive holding. That can't be a reviewable because that's going to be every play.
It happens on every play,
right? You can't make that one, but I I will say that a lot more penalties need to be reviewable, and they need to actually be reviewable.
I think that is going to happen, to answer the listener's question. I think that is going to happen, and I also think that the overtime rule is going to be adjusted in some capacity.
And I also think that they will probably end up closing the loophole rule that
You think so?
that Vrabel used against Belichick and that Belichick used against the Jets, because it was done in such a
deceptive way.
Well, a deceptive way, but also such a momentous moment.
Yes.
You know, it was a playoff game where the whole football watching world was watching, you know. And
there's no reason not to close the loop.
Right. It makes no sense. I mean, the fact that it's a rule in the first place, like you start running the clock again. I mean, when a penalty happens, the clock stops.
The NFL is capable of changing the rule whenever they want.
Right.
It's their game.
Right.
So change it.
Not difficult at all. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But those are the rules I think should be changed and would like to see changed.
Agreed.
All right. So that does it for this week.
Hey, it was a fun week. I'm glad I was able to come on the podcast. I'm glad Haddy was out and partying in Vegas.
Yep.
AKA working 20 hours a day.
AKA succumbing to the mole people.
Potentially. We
don't know.
But
I haven't heard from him to verify that he hasn't.
That's a good point.
I even called him in between shows and he did not answer. So there's no reception down in the tunnels of Las Vegas.
Haddy, we hope you're safe. We hope you enjoyed the basketball extravaganza earlier this week.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
the once annual. So we'll revisit it.
Annual.
We'll revisit again in early 2021. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, just want to encourage you guys to check out Twitter at Grown Man's Pod or on Instagram at Grown Man's Podcast. And if you guys want to be a supporter of the show, we appreciate it. $1 or $2 a month goes a long way. You can go to Patreon / Grown Man's Podcast, and we'll send you some nice stickers, and you can also get a shout out on every show.
Until then, everybody, stay manly.
That's right.
I'm a grown man.